Hey, hey, Warrior Saints. Glad to have you beautiful people with us as we continue our Memorial Day week. It's not just a weekend, it's a week. As we talk about remembrance and remembering things. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that passage from Exodus yesterday, which we hear in Exodus 12, that it will be for you as a memorial, a day that you remember something, a feast for the Lord, something that will be a celebration, something that you will continue to do so that you remember all that the Lord has done. Now, it's easy for us as we start getting into this and start thinking about things and trying to remember all these things. It can become a temptation to live in the past, to dwell in the past. You know, like we read about something and we often assume that that time historically must have been better than our current time, must have been easier, must have been this, must have been that. The reality is that that's not what memorial is about. That's not what remembering is about. Remembering is about knowing where we come from. Knowing where we come from so that we can set our sights on where we want to go. So that we can understand who we are. And so that we can get out there and do the things that we know that we're supposed to do. At least that's what remembering is for warrior saints. You are a warrior saint. And as a warrior saint, you are called to live that life that is crucifixional. That means you are sacrificing yourself and your own will for the sake of God's will, so that you can seek out what God's will is, so that you can remember all that the Lord has done and all that the Lord has commanded, and get out there and do it. That's the commission that we hear in Matthew 28, what we call the Great Commission. Go therefore, make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we hear this and we're like, oh, that's so nice. We're going to be baptized in the name of the Trinity. No! Teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. It is about the commandments of God. It's not something that we read in the Orthodox baptismal service because it's nice and it feels good and it talks about baptism in this passage and Jesus, see, he told us to be baptized. No. It's that we are being made disciples. We are being made warrior saints. We are men and women who are coming to follow God. And in so doing, that means that we have to follow his commandments. We have to do what he has set us out to do, which means we have to have that remembrance of where we come from. Where we come from. It's like when your parents tell you that you are this child that is part of their household, and living in their house means that you have to abide by their rules. It's sometimes fun to make a play on that. Like, for example, my dad was staying with me once, and I told him that I was going to sleep on the couch because I only had a one bedroom. And he said, no, I'm going to do it. And we went back and forth. And then I finally looked at him and it said, Dad, my house, my rules. It's tongue-in-cheek. It's cute. But what was going on in there is I was respecting my elder because that was one of the rules that was in our household. That was something that we were taught. I remember where I came from, which then is able to inform me as where I am going. Now, it's not always easy to remember all of God's commandments. It's not always easy to remember who we are created to be and where we're coming from. And that's where we step in. That's where we come and help you understand the Bible at warriorsaints.org, where you can actually get a program called Understanding the Bible that will help you figure out what God's commandments are. And then if you want to know how to put them into action in your life today, right now, doing the things that you are created to do, remembering where you are coming from so that you can get where you want to go, which is the way of the warrior saint, then you need to get yourself a battle plan to do that. Visit us at warriorsaints.org. Get Understanding the Bible, which teaches you God's commandments. Get the battle plan, which gives you a way to implement them in your lives so you go where you are supposed to be. Until we see you next time, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.